here with Megan Reeves today with Pacesetter Homes, and she has caught my attention because she's doing a lot with social media and she's super engaging. And I was like, I just got to get her on this video and ask her some questions and let her kind of share with you the things that she's doing out there in the world because she has a lot of value to bring. I want to get started, Megan. Tell me, obviously you're a Pacesetter. Tell me just real quick a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. And a little bit of my background. I got started in new home sales about a decade ago now and took a little bit of a break in 2017 to do interior design and came back to new home sales in 2020. So I've been with Pacesetter for the last 3 years now, and I absolutely love the company. I love the management. I love what we stand for. And it's just a really great place to work. So I'm happy to be here now.
That's right. I think what an awesome time to come back. This market has been
Mhm.
crazy. I know that you've been really busy over there. One of the things that just jumping into this that connected us was the social media idea that both of us are passionate about social media. And I know that, you're doing it a lot with it. So tell me, how is it you're selling these homes in this crazy market? What kind of impact has it made on your business?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've had Instagram since 2012, like the year it came out, but I never really used it for my business until last fall. And if you've been in this industry since 2020, you know how crazy it was and how busy we all were for a long time. And I actually had major surgery last summer, and I was out for 6 weeks on medical leave. And when I got back, it was August, September of last year.
Things have changed.
And I see your face.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know
It was
exactly.
very different leaving in late May and coming back in August, September. The market had changed. And all of a sudden, I went from having really steady traffic and really steady sales to 1 to 2 units of traffic a week. And I knew I had to take advantage of that traffic when it came in, but also figure out ways of bringing new traffic in. And not only that, but filling my time and keeping my morale up, because it can be really disheartening when your traffic goes down like that. We joke about, can we just stand on the side of the road and twirl a sign and get people to come in? And you're just
Yes.
sitting there twiddling your thumbs like, what am I going to do? This is my business. I'm 100% commission. Like, I can't survive off of this amount of traffic and this amount of sales. So that's when I really did a deep dive into, okay, how do I do this social media thing for business? How do I make this work? And I've been doing that consistently since last September. And it's really revolutionized the way that I do my business. Number one, I feel way more educated about the market because I follow experts in the market
Yep.
that are giving you that content to help educate you. And then that in turn is allowing me to become more educated for my buyers and to be able to put out that same content to help educate new people. It's this great cycle of learning and sharing and helping people. It's also been great just to build my network. A lot of people don't know this about me because I can come off as very outgoing, but I'm a little bit of an introvert, and traditional ways of networking, it bothers my social anxiety. Going to a happy hour with a bunch of strangers, I can do it, but it's not where I shine. And social media has allowed me to build genuine connections with people in my industry, with realtors and with loan officers, and really get to know people on a more personal level and have a widespread impact as well.
Do you think that how does social media do that for you? Because I understand going into a happy hour where you don't know anybody, that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. But how has it been that with social media, it's allowed you to make these relationships? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so I really feel like the best content to be sharing on social media is yourself.
Yeah.
People want to get to know you. They want to like you. They want to trust you. It's the same with any type of sales. So you should be producing content that shows off authentically who you are so that people feel like they know you. And the same is true in reverse. When you see other people that are producing content like that, The best compliment is when you meet somebody in person and they're like, I feel like I already know you.
Yes. Yeah.
And
That's
in
great.
that way, like now, whenever I go to live networking events, let me connect with you on Instagram. And in that way, we are staying in constant contact. So somebody that I met 6 months ago, they're seeing my content, I'm seeing their content on a regular basis. And then when it does come time to send out, okay, I've got new inventory, or I've got new lots released, or I have a grand opening event, those people are still connected with you and not, oh yeah, I met that person at that event that one time and we never spoke again.
Yeah, it raises your status, if you will, a little bit.
Mhm.
People see you and they know that you're all over social media, but it sure is nice to walk in, and I would say my term is soften the beaches. It's just a little bit
Mhm.
softer to go in and people are like, "Oh, I think I know you or I've seen you."
Yeah.
A lot of that social anxiety goes down a little bit when it's just an easier conversation at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
so I could see how that works. So how do you take this social media that you built for yourself and this personality and then help your partners, your realtors do it? Like, what are you doing to help them?
Yeah. So I love collaborating with realtors, and that's both in a general sense of the word and then also in the literal Instagram collab sense of the
Mm.
word, where if you come together and you produce a piece of content to help educate both of your audiences, and you do a collab on Instagram, then that content is reaching both of your audiences. So anytime I do a collab with a realtor and I look at my engagement and my analytics on that piece of content, it's sky high compared to what I normally post because it's reaching double, triple the amount of people. So that's a really great way that social media has allowed people to come together and share and spread education, entertainment, and be able to reach a larger audience.
Do you think that this is a loaded question, but do you think that you can actually get leads? Realtors can actually get leads from their social media and close business today.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, the stats support that. I need to get better at memorizing statistics. My brain doesn't like numbers as much. I'm sure you can't relate being in your field.
Well, I don't know.
Uh,
It's
I
picky and
think,
choosy sometimes what it does remember. Like you just don't know.
right? Or I'll remember it. And then the second I don't need it anymore, my brain's
Yeah. Yep.
don't remember it. But no, this is something that it's a long game. It's about consistency. So it's the same as going to the gym. You're not going to go to the gym for a week and then go check for abs in the mirror and then give up when you don't see anything. So if you post videos for a week or two and you're like, man, I haven't gotten a single sale yet, I haven't gotten a single contract out of this, you have the wrong mindset.
Yep.
It is about consistency over time. And it takes time, but I'm already seeing results. I'm meeting people, and for the first time for me, and they're like, oh, yeah, I love your videos. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
you know who I am.
Starting to
It
happen.
also it helps me with backlog retention as well and backlog management. So I have buyers under contract that follow me and they see the content that I'm producing on community updates or why it's a good time to buy. And they're feeling reassured that they are in the hands of an expert in the field. And they are appreciative of seeing these nicely produced videos of, okay, here's the community center construction progress update. Especially my out of state buyers love that kind of thing because it helps them still feel engaged in the process.
I want to share one thing with you and see if you've had a moment like this. About 3 or 4 years ago, one of my coaches challenged me and said, you have to post from this day forward every single day, at least Monday through Friday for the
Yeah.
rest of your life until you retire. And it was like, wow, it's like the pressure of thinking about that forever. Have you had anybody challenge you that way? Do you post every day? Is that like a mindset that you have?
I think it's an important conversation about burnout as well. I do tend to hold myself to a really high standard, and I have to watch for that. I have to watch that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. But I do know that for me, this is a creative outlet. I really enjoy doing it. It's great for my business. So I do challenge myself to produce at least one piece of content a day. But there are times where life happens. You get really busy, you go through a health event, stuff happens, and it's okay. And I think it's more important to not let that defeat you and not feel like a failure if you're not able to produce a single piece of content every single day for the rest of your life. Allowing yourself to just go, okay, that's fine. I went through a period, back at it. And
Yes.
I recently went through a period like that myself where it was crazy busy at work. I had another surgery and I'm like, okay, now is not the season for this. But as soon as I am feeling up to it, I'm going to get back to it because I love it and I love what it does.
Right. My hack that I've figured out over time that has helped me do it,
Mhm.
because I didn't do it in the beginning either. Just like you said, you can only go so much, and there's these moments where you feel really creative and everything's
Yeah.
easy, and other times you can't come up with an idea for some reason. And so what I started doing is saving pieces of content that I would call our evergreen
Mm.
and having those available. And
Yeah.
so if I'm getting behind in a day and I'm just struggling, I'll pull out one of those pieces of evergreen content and post it real quick. That way I feel like I checked the box. What happened for me was that over time I created so much evergreen content that it took the pressure down. So I have this
Yeah.
backup plan. By taking that pressure down, I'm still able to create new stuff all the time. It's funny,
Mm.
it just feeds itself. But I have that backup plan in place. And depending on the stats you look at, kind of like you said, I don't remember them all, but there was one specific one on LinkedIn, because I do a lot on LinkedIn. It
Mhm.
said that if you post once a day for 30 days, that the people you're connected with will only see one or two posts of those
Mm.
posts from every day. And so people don't always see it. Now, if somebody really engages with you a lot, it seems like you go to the top of their feed and maybe that stats change. But the thing is that's crazy is that we think about our content a lot, but other people don't. And
Yeah.
so you can use the same thing every few months. And what I found is the third or fourth time I use it, it gets more traction sometimes than
Yeah.
it ever did before. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Recycling old content
yeah,
is a
but you
great
just
tool to
want to
have in
make
your
sure it's
back
the right
pocket.
stuff. You can't miss on that. But if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, he says about the same three things 50 different ways all the time. And so
Exactly. I
it's
can't tell
kind of
you
the same.
how many different reels I have made about why it's important to get pre-approved before you go out house shopping.
Yes,
And I just make that same message 50 different ways and hopefully it sinks in because
that's
I see a
awesome.
lot of people who come out and they have no idea what their budget is, how
Yep.
much a monthly payment is for the type of price of home that they're looking at. There's just a lot of people who are completely uneducated about the finances of buying a home. So
Yes.
that's something that I'm passionate about trying to educate people on.
And during that time you were out, home affordability just went crazy. And it's
Yeah.
almost the worst on record. And we saw
Mhm.
the largest increase in rates, maybe all time. And we went through a massive change while you were out. That's crazy right now that where we're sitting. But you just led me right into what I think about, as far as people coming to you and wanting to buy a house. What are you guys doing to help people get in houses right now? How are you guys helping to deal with home affordability?
Yeah, so that's something that every builder is asking themselves right now. And my heart really goes out to first-time homebuyers right now because it is harder than ever to get your foot in the door, start building equity. And I feel like I had it easy in comparison just not even 10 years ago. I really am passionate about trying to help these younger first-time buyers just get their foot in the door, get their first foot up on the ladder of homeownership. Because once you get in and you're able to start building equity, buying the second house, buying the third house, it all becomes so much easier. So one of the things that Pacesetter is doing in order to help people get in the door during a time where interest rates are high, prices are high, is offering incentives. So right now we are offering a summer savings event where we're offering up to $15,000 in what we call flex cash. So you can use that towards the price of the home or towards closing costs to be able to get you in with less money up front. And then, or you can do the rate buy down right now. So that can
Yes.
get you as low as 4.99% interest rate.
It's awesome. I think it's a great way to give people an opportunity to save money now in
Mm.
hopes that rates go down. If they will or if they don't, we don't know yet. But the general consensus is they may come down over time. But that really makes it a lot less out of pocket for people
Yeah,
to buy a house today. And that's what matters is people.
absolutely.
I think generally people are getting their head around they can probably make the payments, but it's that out of pocket that makes it so hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So What
And
you
no
guys are
matter
doing.
what happens with rates, let's say there's two scenarios. You buy now and the rates go down. Great. You can
Yep.
refinance. I know a lot of lenders, you guys included, will
Yep.
refinance for up to 3 years after closing for free.
Yep.
If you buy and the rates go down, refinance. If you buy, the rates go up, cool. You're protected. You've already got your
Mhm.
rate locked in. And if you don't buy and the rates go down, everybody who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to drop, and believe me, there's a lot of them out there. Now you're going to be competing with all of them to find a home. And we already have low inventory. So when we have low inventory paired with lower rates, I think it's going to be 2020 all over again.
It feels like it's going to that. The one thing to add to that, it's a small thing, but I think it's critical, is that when rates come down, home prices go up.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
if you're going to sit on the fence and wait, then you're going to pay more. And so there's a cost of waiting that just gets worse and worse over time.
Yeah.
Pacesetter will increase their prices when that happens. They're going to have to.
Yeah. And
And
the reason that prices go up is because of demand.
exactly.
So with everybody coming off the sidelines now saying, here, take my money, then that's just simple
Yes.
economics.
I agree with that. Looking at where the market sits today, we've had a nice movement for a couple of days in a row now with rates coming down. Depends on which talking head you listen to, but it felt like doom and gloom for the last week. Rates kept going up and the Fed was
Yeah.
going to raise. And then all of a sudden, CPI and PI came in good. And the sign, maybe inflation is at least stabilized. If that's
Yeah.
the case, we may have peaked out. We may have peaked out in the last week, and rates may trickle down from here, which means more buyers, more pressure for values to go up, just more frenzy. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great time to buy from what I'm seeing from the mortgage side. And I know you just
Yeah.
confirmed it from your seat too.
100%.
I have a question for you. I'm in the mortgage business and been in for a long time. And one of the things I think about is, what do you see that loan officers are doing that they could improve on? What is something out there that you're like, I wish they would do this, or I wish this one thing would happen a little better? Is there any kind of advice you could give?
So my first thoughts offhand are, I have had the lucky experience of working with great loan officers. So I'm like, I don't know. I just send them people and then I set the closing date and everything goes smoothly and it's great and it's fine. So
That's
I don't,
awesome.
I'm like,
Good for
okay, so
you.
like, how could they improve? So I had to like search my brain to answer that. And
Yeah.
I think for me, like the one thing that I would love is to be able to share social media content directly from my loan officers that I work with and that my buyers are working with. Because like I said, I have a lot of my buyers in backlog that follow me, or a lot of prospective buyers that follow me, and being able to say, hey, these are the loan officers that we partner with, and they are experts on the market. And here's
Yes.
social proof that they are experts and you're in good hands with them. I would love to be able to share that content and put that content out to my audience as well.
Well, that's great advice, and that is awesome. That's the thing that you came up with. Depends on people's experience and what kind of how long they've been in the business. That answer is going to vary so much between different people, but hey, that's great advice. So loan
Yeah.
officers create good content so that your partners can share it. So just like you said earlier, when you share it to somebody else's network, then you get exposed to a whole bunch of new people. It just keeps growing organically. It's great.
Yep. So if you're already at the elite level of, hey, you do your job really well, then start sharing it with people.
Yes, I agree with that. Anything else? Any last thoughts that you
Um,
want to share? Anything?
yeah, I think it would be cool to talk a minute about what we were discussing a little bit before the call, and that is authenticity on here versus professionalism or high production value. And I think that can be a really big barrier for people getting started in social media. I talk to a lot of people that they really only feel comfortable sharing the marketing material that their marketing departments come up with. So they'll share flyers, they'll share professional photos of listings. They will only share something that, oh, the professional marketing team came up with this. And I got to tell you, when I see that somebody has followed me and I go on their page and I check out what kind of stuff they're posting, if that's all there is, I'm like, you're just trying to sell your
It's like
product.
advertising.
It's just advertising. I
Yeah.
don't know. Who are you? Who are you
Right.
as a person? I want to follow you if I like who you are. So that's something that in people's mind, they think that it has to be that, and nothing could be further from the truth. They want you to show up as you, show your face, show your sense of humor, your personality, and get to know you as a person. And often that authenticity, that rawness, it translates as more likable than the super polished stuff.
Yes, I agree. So what do you think? What's the reason people don't do it? Why don't they share video or start posting? What do you
Yeah.
think?
I think there's a high barrier to entry because anytime you're learning something new, you're not going to be great at it at first. And if it's a hobby like painting, I'm going to pick up oil painting. You can just do that at home,
Yes.
make a painting that looks absolutely terrible and put it in the back of the closet. No one has to see it. If you're on social media, it is public by nature. So everyone you know is going to get to see your first stumbling attempts of like, how do I do a reel? And I'm going to this close to the camera. And it's not going to be good at first, typically. I would be very surprised if you're immediately able to start pushing out really grade A content. But you have to acknowledge that, okay, yes, I'm not going to be great at first, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to learn. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to stay consistent. And as time goes on, I'm going to get better. And I think there is something to be said with upping your production value as you learn and as you get better, because the algorithm favors 4K content. It favors content that's well lit, that looks good. People engage with it more. So that is something that's important as you go along, but don't let that be a barrier to entry, and don't be so focused on being polished and professional that you fail to show up as yourself.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. You know what made me get more comfortable was we started using Zoom a lot during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
you had to just be used to seeing yourself on video, because some of us don't like our voice or the way we look. Guess what? That's how you look to everybody else in real life anyway, when we
Yeah.
have to deal with that. And then at some point, it's just, I'm doing this anyway. One thing is I do a lot of personal videos on a telephone or on my cell phone. And so if it's somebody's birthday or something's going on, I do a quick 30-second video, and that helped me get better at video too. And that way it's not to the world, like it's
Yeah.
just between two people. But yeah, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. I agree with that. It's just starting.
Yeah. And you learn by doing. Yes, it's important to watch a few videos. Okay, how does this stuff work? How do I make an Instagram reel? How do I put together a social media marketing strategy? That content is out there for you if you seek it out. So yes, it's important to learn a little bit about how everything works before you get started. But at a certain point, you're just going to have to jump in and
That's
start
right.
doing it. Yeah.
When you work with your realtors, do they ask you, or are they challenged with what to post? Is that a challenge that they ask you about? Do they struggle with that, or?
Yeah, I think it can be a struggle. And I always tell people, I think it's especially a struggle if you are part of a generation where you're not used to the memification of content, and you think that you have to come up with 100% original ideas every single time.
Yes.
That was like me as a kid. I thought
Yeah.
science fairs where you had to make a scientific discovery. And I
That
was so
makes sense.
intimidated by that. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. And then I was like, oh yeah, they just watered plants different amounts and calculated how much they grew.
Much
It's not
easier.
that hard.
Right.
So I think if you get out of your head that this has to be, oh, I have to completely come up with a brand new idea that no one's ever done before. No, you don't. Follow people who are producing content that you like. And that's literally the point of how Reels and TikToks, that's how it works now. You see somebody using an audio and they're doing a cool editing technique with that audio, and you're like, oh, cool, let me try that. And you'll see that when you look at, okay, everyone is using this audio to make this kind of video, put your own spin on it. So you're not completely copy pasting. You want to make sure that you are bringing your voice to it, but you don't have to come up with your own completely unique original idea every time you make content.
I agree. I'm a big reader, and there's a book called Steal Like an Artist, and it's amazing. It's a short,
Yeah.
quick read, and it basically says what you just said. Everything's already been created.
Mm,
Use your own words to tell the same story, and that's your
yep.
content. The book's worth reading, to be honest. It's a little bit more than that, but you don't have to be the inventor at the
Yeah.
science fair every time. I think it's a great analogy 'cause I really connect with that. I feel that pressure. I feel like
Mhm.
I had to create super insightful takeaways in the world to be on social media and to share
Mhm.
things. And honestly, you don't have to. In fact, if you are, you're probably going to be next level. Like most people can't
Right.
do that. That's not what we're all here for.
Yep.
Oh, that's
I,
great.
I just, I engage regularly with other people's content and I save the stuff that inspires me. And then whenever I am feeling like, okay, I'm not very inspired right now, I don't know what to make, I just go back to my saved folder, watch a few videos. Oh, yeah, I can do that. And off you
Yes.
go to the races.
I do that same thing. I do it in a couple ways. I sometimes, if there's one, let's say I see a reel I just love, forward it to my email even to get it out of social media so it triggers me in a different environment to be like,
Mm,
here's one I really like. And so I have a folder in my email. I also have saved ones on Instagram or Facebook or
mhm,
whatever. Sometimes I have a hard time siphoning through that. I know
mm.
that if I email it to myself, like that's next level, like that's a really good one. And so I have
Yeah.
a super extra for you find your own ways of doing
Yeah.
things.
I have a notes folder where
Yeah.
I just make a list that the kind that you can check off.
Yep.
And it's just reels ideas
Yep.
of, oh, this would be a good one to do. So even if I'm not in a place where I can make that reel right now, I can always go back to that note and be like, oh yeah, I wanted to do that. And then you can get going that way too.
One last question. Are you doing like individual work with realtors? Are you doing classes? What have you done to help them? Because I feel like that's a big thing, a big value add that makes you different.
Yeah. So I have done a class for my fellow sales professionals at Pacesetter. That was my first time teaching this kind of content in a group environment. And it was a lot of fun for me to put together the content. I love helping other people learn and grow as much as I love learning myself. So that is something that I really enjoy doing and would like to do more of. I've also done some one-on-one sessions with people that are trying to get started because, like I said, it's not easy to get started, especially if it's not something that you're used to doing. So yeah, I would love to connect with realtors on a one-on-one basis or even in a group setting to help more people get comfortable with this because it is the future of this industry. And if you don't start getting comfortable with it, then you might get left behind. And I just don't want that to happen to anybody. So yeah, I'd love to help more people get into it.
I agree with that. I heard a stat that said 67% of people look online and decide who they're going to
Mm,
buy from before they
mhm,
call them.
100%.
And
Yeah.
so your online presence matters, your videos and your profiles and all that stuff matters.
Yeah. It's all about
So
building your personal brand
exactly.
and recognition. Yeah.
Exactly. Any last thoughts? This is great information. I'm learning
Oh,
from
thank
you
you.
today. So this is awesome.
No, I think that's pretty much everything. And I had a lot of fun. I'd love to do it again. It's just fun to connect with somebody who's doing some of the same things and is also passionate about it.
Yes. No, I think that's
Mhm.
great. And we just keep doing this kind of stuff and we learn and get better every time. And I know
Absolutely.
if you look back at my first videos, I know I'm embarrassed about it, but it's fun to see
Right? Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Me
I
too.
am getting better. I am getting
Yeah.
better. I am growing and figuring it out.
Mhm.
Imagine what it'll look like a year from now or even a few months from now. It just
Yeah.
gets better and better.
Honestly, if your content looks the same today as it did a year ago, you're probably not growing as a creator.
Right. That's a good
Yeah.
point. That's a great point. Thanks for being on here today. It's great talking to you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for having me.